Michigan State's Jalen Watts Jackson.
20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 45. There goes Davis.
Oh, my God.
Davis is going to run it all the way back. Auburn's going to win the football game. Auburn's going to win the football game. He ran the...
Welcome back to another show, another episode of the Ian Fritts Show. I'm here with you again. It is, how do I say this? The last kind of end to, it's the end of the season. You know, it's upon us. The end of, technically not the regular season anymore, but the end of a lot of these teams' seasons, because, you know, they'll go to a bowl game, but they'll have a chance to win a national championship. So a lot of these teams that we're going to talk about today, it's the end of the year for them. It's the end of the year. Yes, you can go to a bowl game, but it's the end of, I would call this the end of your football season. Team, you know, coaches going places, different players are jumping in the portal. Your roster isn't going to look the same. This is the end of your year, unless a few of these teams win and they go on to the college football playoff. But for the most part, a lot of these teams this weekend, the end of the year, sad face emoji. But I'm glad you guys are still with me. I'm glad I'm here and just got a haircut, so I'm feeling good and I'm probably looking good. So I appreciate you guys for following along. If you're listening on podcast, jump over to the YouTube so you can see the haircut and see how good I look on there. Enough about me. Let's talk about the football. We've only got, let's see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's not right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, 7. I've got 7 games to pick here. 7 games to pick, 7 conference championship games. And we're going to jump into them, and we're gonna pick them. We're going to pick them all, and we're going to have fun picking them. So right off the bat, I'm going in order of when they happen this weekend, so you can, what Ian picked during this game on Friday night, what he picked Saturday morning. Let's just see what he did. And a lot of these are going to be brief. Some of them not so brief, but we're going to jump right into the Conference USA Championship. New Mexico State versus the Liberty Flames. And if you know anything about this game, you would know that Liberty is undefeated. They are in the top 25 of the college football playoff rankings, nowhere near the playoffs. So for all's well that ends well here for both of these teams, not getting into the playoff, shocker. But both these teams want to win this football game. You want to win this football game if you're either New Mexico State or Liberty. Liberty, you got an undefeated season on the line, be Conference USA champs. New Mexico State, build off your win at Auburn a couple weeks ago. You're going to build. You got a good program being built over there in New Mexico. The line for this game right now is Liberty minus 11. And look, I really want to pick New Mexico State. I really do. However, the game is being played in Lynchburg. It's a home game for Liberty. They get to do these all home games in the Conference USA Championship game. I love it. So I've got to go with Liberty and the home team in this game. Liberty minus 11. That's the pick. It could change now till Friday night. Follow the Twitter if you haven't. Be down there. Follow the Twitter to see the latest edition of the picks before the games start. But right now, the pick is the Liberty Flames. We like it, minus 11. An hour after that game kicks off, we've got probably the most anticipated rematch of the entire year. We've been looking forward to it since they played way back in October, late September, early October. And we're getting it this weekend. And the team that won that game is not favored in this game. Here you go. Washington versus Oregon. Played out there at Allegiant Stadium over there in Las Vegas, Nevada. So if you're going down there, have a good time. I've never been to Las Vegas. I won't be there this weekend. But, you know, I look forward to being there in the future. Well, actually, no, I don't, because this is the last Pac-12 championship ever. So we're never going to be able to go back to Las Vegas for a Pac-12 championship game. So this is the last time I could have been able to do it, but I'm not going to be able to do it. So I'm not going to Las Vegas for this championship game. Enough about that. Let's talk about the game. Look, everybody everybody's talking about how good Oregon is. Oregon is this good. They're the second best team in the country. You know what? Maybe they're the best team in the country. Some people have them power rated the best team in the country, top 3 team in the country, way better than Washington. A lot of models or algorithms, online, S&P Plus, whatever it might be, a lot of models are saying Oregon is the better team and they should win handedly, including Vegas, where this game is going to be played. Vegas has Oregon at a 9.5-point favorite, and you may be saying to yourself, how is that possible, Ian? How is that possible? Didn't Oregon lose to Washington? Didn't they lose? And they did. But luckily, we get this game again, because that game up there in Washington early October was probably the game of the year. It was exceptional. And another thing as to why is Oregon favored by 9.5? Why is that? Why are they favored by 9.5? You might be asking. Well, guys, it's because of how they have looked. I don't know what else to say other than, their schedule isn't, world beaters or anything. They're playing pretty good teams, but they're beating those teams into the ground. Just boom, just stepping on them. If any of you saw on social media this past weekend, Brent Venables, the head coach at University of Oklahoma, OU Sooners, he was running out the tunnel for their game this past weekend. He tripped and fell, and he had his players just trample all over him. He said he felt like he was going to die down there. That's what Oregon has been doing to their opponents, just running over them, just trampling over them like Brent Venables. So that's why Oregon is favored by 9.5, because if you're Washington, you look at Washington, what have they been doing to those opponents that Oregon has faced? What has Washington been doing with those opponents? Well, you guys have been watching the games. I don't really need to tell you this, but they've been squeaking out wins, just squeaking them out, barely winning. Every game they've won since they beat, including Oregon, has been a one-possession game, maybe two-possession game. I can't exactly remember the Stanford final score. That might have been a 10-point game. But other than that, every game, one-possession game, just squeaking them out. But they're finding ways to win. They're still doing it. They're still winning. And we'll see if that streak comes to an end this weekend. The thing for Washington that needs to happen is they need to play exactly how they played in the first Oregon game. They need to be better than they've been all year defensively. They need to have Rome Odunze, we talked about in the recap show this past week. They need to have Rome Odunze play the game of his life. They need to have that connection, Michael Penix, Rome Odunze, on everything, okay? When it gets down to it, they're down by 7, they need to drive, force feed Rome Odunze. That's what they've done all year when they've needed to drive. Boom, Rome Odunze is getting the ball. That's the key. That's the key for Washington this weekend. I don't see any other way Washington can win this football game. They've got to get off the field on third down when they force Oregon into third down. They've got to be better on third down than they've been all year. Been very poor. And they've got to get Rome Odunze, Jalen Polk, McMillan. They've got to get their wide receivers the ball, okay? Especially Rome Odunze, because that guy is a difference maker. He's the definite. You look up difference maker dictionary. I did it earlier before the show. I prepare for the show. I did it earlier. I went difference maker in the dictionary. Webster, Merriam-Webster. You guys know it. It's a big dictionary. I looked in there and I saw, whoa. Difference maker. I saw a picture of Rome Odunze. That's the picture I saw. Some of you might be saying, well, why wasn't Michael Penix there? Well, quite frankly, I think Rome Odunze is the best player on that team. Don't come at me for it, but it's true. It's true. If you watch that football player play football, he's a difference maker. Look it up in the dictionary. You'll be pleasantly surprised to see his picture there. I may have edited all the dictionaries ever to do that, but, it is what it is. For Oregon, what do? What do they have to do? Literally, they just have to play the football they've been playing the entire year. They played good enough to beat Washington the first time. They just made some, mental mistakes in the red zone, not getting any points inside the 10-yard line a couple times, going for it, maybe not going for it on fourth down when they should have in the game. Who knows? But Oregon definitely played good enough to win the game the first time. It's not like Washington just beat them into the dirt. That didn't happen. And Washington hasn't been doing that since. But if this game's close, Washington has won a bunch of close games. They know how to do it. So if this game is close, I would be worried about Washington just somehow finding a way to pull this game out, just out of thin air. How are they going to pull this out? Also, something to keep in mind, Oregon maybe isn't a deadlock if they win this game. I don't know if the refs are going to maybe try to force Washington into the playoff. I don't know. Or maybe they're going to try to force Oregon into the playoff. I don't know. The ref situation has been a little shady this year at best, in my opinion, all over the country. So we'll see. We'll see in this game. Now let's get into who I think is going to win and who I think is going to cover. Okay. Look, right now, in my mind before the show, I had in my mind, I was like, okay, Oregon's going to win, but I think Washington's going to cover. That was the pick, and I was prepared to say that. I was prepared to say that today with you guys. However, the gut. You guys, I've been harping on the gut all year. I've been harping on the gut. Listen to your gut. The gut is telling me right now as I'm talking about this game, as I'm telling you guys about it, as I'm telling you to watch this game on Friday night, cancel all your other plans, watch the last Pac-12 game of all time, watch it this weekend. My gut is telling me somehow, some way, Washington is going to win this football game. And that may come back to be the worst thing I've said the entire college football season. But right now, that's what the gut is saying. So I'm going Washington to cover, and I'm going Washington to win. I'm shocking myself as I'm saying that right now, guys. But that's the pick. Is it going to come true? It is, because that's what's going to happen. All right, moving right along. Saturday, 11 a.m. kick. We've got the Big 12 championship game. And if you know anything, or if you don't know anything, you might be saying, all right, we got Texas versus Oklahoma. We get Big 12. We get rivalry, Red River Rivalry 2. We get another rematch of the year. Let's go, baby. Whoa. Slow your roll. Does Oklahoma have a better record than Oklahoma State overall? Yes, they do. However, Oklahoma State beat Oklahoma head-to-head. If so facto, get OSU into the Big 12 championship game versus Texas. Now, in everybody's mind, nobody really wanted this game. Everybody wanted OU versus Texas Part 2. If people are saying they didn't want that, then they're flat out lying. Even Oklahoma State fans that I know, that I love dearly, that are in close contact with me. I've been talking to them. I say, hey, do you guys really want to play this game? And they say no. They said no. We don't want to play this game. That should be OU playing Texas. But I don't write the rules. The Big 12 does, but they also change them. So who knows? Who knows really what's going on with it? This game may not even be played. I don't know. They may just hand Oklahoma State the trophy because Texas isn't going to be here. That may be the new rule. I'm not sure. But the spread right now, Texas minus 15.5. I really don't have much to talk about in this game, guys. The only way for OSU to win is somehow Ollie Gordon's got to run for 300 yards against a really good Texas rush defense. I was just trying to see if it would happen. That's what those were. Do I see it happening? No. I don't. I think Texas is going to win, and I think they're going to blow them out. They're going to win by more than 15.5. This isn't going to be really much of a game, and we'll all just be sitting waiting for the next game on our couch, which is Georgia, Alabama. And what will probably be the game of the weekend. I think it's going to be pretty safe to say that. And if it's not, then don't come back and clip that because I didn't say it. Okay, so we got Georgia versus Alabama, number 1 team versus number 8, 3 p.m. on CBS. Georgia right now is a 5.5-point favorite. This is another game here, guys. I've flip-flopped like a dead fish. You get a fish out of the water. Sometimes they're alive. You reel in that fish. You get him on board. Look, Dad, look at the fish I caught. And then you fling him around. He's flopping on the deck. Boom, boom, boom. That's what I'm doing in my mind about this game. And honestly, all of these games except for Michigan, Iowa, and Texas, Oklahoma State. But right now, I don't even know what I'm saying. I don't even know who I'm going to pick right now as of now. So I'm just going to tell you guys how Georgia's going to win the football game, how Alabama's going to win the football game. And then when I say those two things, my gut's going to tell me something, and that's going to be the pick, okay? That's how I do these things. And it's worked out okay so far this year. We got a winning record, and that's all you can ask for in your first year in the business, okay? Georgia, Alabama. How does Georgia win this football game? Quite frankly, they run it right down Alabama's throat. Not. Carson Beck's got to have a game. He's got to have a game. And quite frankly, Alabama, Will Anderson, if he can get around that edge, get to Carson Beck, force him into some turnovers, force him into make a bad throw. This is going to be the biggest game of Carson Beck's life. Okay, and Jalen Milroe's. But Jalen Milroe, quite frankly, he's played in a lot bigger games than Carson Beck. Okay, he played one just last weekend. Now, some of you might be saying Auburn is not that good. It was not that big of a game. It was a very big game, okay? It was a very big game. Carson Beck, this is the biggest game of his life. He's never been in a spot like this. How does he handle the pressure? He's done very well all year with the pressure, okay? In the biggest games he's had this year, he's excelled. Now, they haven't played a defense like Alabama. Alabama's by far the best defense they have faced all year. So how's Carson Beck going to respond? He's got to have a solid game. No turnovers from Carson Beck. That's what I'm asking for if I'm a Georgia fan. Hey, Carson Beck, you've been great all year. Just continue to do what you do. You turn the ball over, that'll most likely mean we lose this football game. That'll most likely mean we lose this football game. If you turn it over once, maybe twice, I'm not sure. But can Georgia's offensive line, can they get back in their pass pro? Can they block Will Anderson? Can they block the rest of the Alabama front seven? How are they going to block? Is Carson Beck going to stay on his feet? Is he going to wiggle out of a pocket? Is he going to find Brock Bowers down the field? Is he going to find the old Lad McConkey, the old white slot receiver? That dude is nice. That dude is nice. If you watch that guy play football, he runs some crispy routes. So for me, Carson Beck is the key to this football game for Georgia. I'm not worried about their defense. I think this is going to be a lower scoring game. The over-under is 54.5, so roughly 22.5 points for each team. 27.5 points for each team. I would be willing to bet the under on this football game. Don't quote me on that. I don't bet over-unders. I bet on the line. But I would lean towards the under. I like both of these defenses more than I like both of their offenses. And that's saying a lot because Georgia has the number 2 offense in the country as of right now. So I really like Georgia defensively. Not worried about what they're going to put on the field. But Carson Beck, biggest spot of his lifetime, biggest spot of a few of those people over on the Georgia Bulldogs. Now, I trust Kirby Smart. I trust that they're preparing well, and I trust how they're going to do things defensively. Carson Beck, he's done great all year. How does he respond to the biggest moment he's ever been put into in his lifetime? How does he respond? That's the key for Georgia. If he responds well, boom, they win the football game. They win the football game handedly. Now, I think Georgia's a better football team than Alabama. So the key for Alabama, there's a couple different keys. It only takes one key for Georgia. It takes a couple different for a team that's not as good. Not by much. I don't think Alabama's that much worse than Georgia. However, they are, in my mind, even if they lose this weekend, I still think Georgia's a better football team. Some might say you're crazy, and some might be right about that, but I don't think you are. Let's move right along. Alabama key for this football game. Jalen Milroe. The bottom half of him. The bottom half of Jalen Milroe. That's the key for Alabama. Offensively, that's the key for Alabama. I hinted at the key defensively for Alabama. Why is that the key offensively for Alabama? Why are his legs, if you didn't get that already, his legs, that's what I'm saying the key is for Jalen Milroe and the Alabama Crimson Tide. Look, he's going to have to find a way to break down the Georgia defense, find holes in their defense by scrambling. He's done it the past 5-6 weeks. He's done it exceptionally well. However, one thing is he is going to have to improve upon is he's going to have to know with his brain. So I guess you can say the bottom half of Jalen Milroe and his head. I'm not really worried about his torso area and his arms. I trust those enough to throw a deep ball maybe if the opportunity presents itself. But the key, his legs and his brain, to be able to know where that line of scrimmage is, okay? Because Auburn, shocker, is nowhere near as good as Georgia. And if you scramble a couple times and you cross the line of scrimmage and throw a ball down there, you're not going to be able to get it back like you did against Auburn. You're not going to be able to get it back. You're not going to be able to get it back against a team like Georgia. You can't make those mistakes against the Georgia Bulldogs. You can't. You can make them against the Auburn Tigers, not against Georgia. So his legs got to connect better to his brain about where that line of scrimmage is. Now, you may think I'm joking that that's a key for this game for me mentally if I'm watching for it. He's done that not just 2 times this year. He's done it multiple times, and it's really weird that it's happening because I don't think I've ever seen a quarterback struggle with it more than Jalen Milroe this year. However, his legs not just crossing the line of scrimmage, but his legs just maybe scrambling for 5-6 yards here or there, 25 yards here or there. Are they going to do a lot of quarterback run game with him? That's what hurt Georgia when they played Auburn. And I'd be a lot more worried about Jalen Milroe running the football than I was about Auburn's quarterback. Just me. So my guess is Jalen Milroe, I'm saying this, he might have more rush attempts than he does pass attempts in this football game. That's the bold prediction. That's the key for the offense for the Alabama Crimson Tide. Defensively, I hinted at it with Carson Beck. They got to get after Carson Beck. Somehow, some way, they've got to force Carson Beck to make mistakes. He hasn't really done it all year. They've got to force him to make mistakes, and they've got to force him to make mistakes early. Georgia gets on you early, I don't see how this game is going to be anything but over if Georgia takes an early lead. They're just going to run the ball. They've been doing it well all year for the most part. So Alabama's got to pin their ears back early and get after Carson Beck. Force him to make a mistake early. That's the other key. Defensive line, linebackers. I don't care if you bring 8 guys and you drop 3 defensive linemen. Whatever it takes, you got to get after the quarterback this weekend if you're the Alabama Crimson Tide, if that is how you want to win this football game. Okay? Now, do I think Georgia's going to get out to an early lead? Maybe. Probably not. I think this game, as I said earlier, the line is minus 5.5 for the Georgia Bulldogs. The gut, guys, the gut is telling me Georgia's going to win the football game, but somehow, some way, Alabama is going to cover. It's going to be a close game. So Georgia's going to win. Alabama's going to cover. That's the pick for this football game. Let's move right along. Also at 3 p.m. on ABC, a sneaky, fun game right here. For me, at least, I think this is going to be a pretty fun game. You got SMU Tulane, the AAC Championship, the American Athletic Championship, okay? Tulane's got a home game for this one, guys. Tulane has a home game for this one. You can go to this game for as low as $19. Shout out whatever service that is. Anyways, look, the line right now is Tulane minus 3.5. You got Michael Pratt back. He's a great quarterback. SMU, however, very, very good offensively and very, very good defensively. If you remember back earlier in the year, OU beat this team. I believe it was 19-7, 19-11, something along those lines. And ever since then, SMU has been rolling. We knew their defense was good when they played OU, the way they held OU to 19 points or whatever it was. Their offense sputtered a little bit, but they started getting things going with old Preston Stone down there, 5-star quarterback. He started playing a lot better football after that OU game, and I trust him. I trust him this weekend. I trust the SMU Ponies to win this football game. I think they're going to cover, and I think they're going to win the football game. I'm very confident in this pick, guys. This might be my top pick of the weekend. I'm not including Michigan or Texas. Actually, Texas is probably the top. It's probably the top that they're going to cover that football game. Right behind them, I got the SMU Ponies winning outright against the Tulane Green Wave, okay? Let's move right along to the Michigan Wolverines versus the Iowa Hawkeyes, okay? This may come as a shock to some people. Iowa's going to win the football game. Just pause for effect there. Yeah, you heard me say it, and I'm joking. I can't, in good conscience, make you guys think that I am actually serious about picking Iowa to win this football game. Iowa just can't get it done offensively. I watched all of that Nebraska game this past weekend, and I knew a guy who bet the under, so it was very entertaining from that perspective. Other than that, this game was probably I wanted to cut my eyes out of my skull, okay? I like my eyes. So that goes to show you how much Iowa is just abysmal on the offensive side of football. I don't even see a way they win this football game. Some people say, well, they can score defensively. You're right about that. I don't see that they scored defensively, though. Enough about this game. Michigan's going to win. The line's minus 21.5. I think the over-under for the game is 35.5. So if you know anything about 35.5 with 2 football teams, one of them being the Michigan Wolverines, who have a top 20 offense in the country, 35.5 over-under is absurdly low. So that's just what the Iowa Hawkeyes can do to you. And if you watch any of their games, I implore you to close your eyes while they're on offense, because it's the saddest thing you could ever see. I think Michigan gets a defensive touchdown before Iowa that does this weekend. That's the bold prediction. Another bold prediction. I think Michigan's going to cover. I think that maybe they win 31-0 or something like that. I think it's going to be one of those games. I don't see Iowa even scoring in this football game. Maybe they get a field goal, but I still think Michigan covers the football game. So give me Michigan minus the 21.5. Okay, last game of the weekend, guys. Last game for me on the slate right now. We've got Louisville versus Florida State. Got to take a sip. I honestly think this is the most interesting game. I can't say it's the most interesting game of the weekend. That would be a lie. I think Georgia-Alabama is, followed closely by Oregon-Washington. And then we've got this one as a number 3. I think Louisville-Florida State is the third most interesting game of the weekend. There, I fixed what I was about to say, so don't come at me for saying, you think Louisville-Florida State? No, it's the third most interesting game, okay? So Florida State's favored by 2.5. Obviously, they don't have Jordan Travis. Obviously, their team looks a lot different than it does with Jordan Travis. We saw that last weekend against the Florida Gators down there in the swamp. Somehow they found a way to win that football game. I'm not entirely sure how. Florida got out to an early lead. I went to got in bed, turned it on my computer, and started watching it again. And I was like, whoa. Florida State's coming back. They're doing things. And a man named Trey Benson was the person who was doing things. So we'll see if he can do it against Louisville. Got a good run defense. And they also have a very good rush offense. So that's what I'm looking for Louisville. How do they run the ball against Florida State? And how do they stop the run versus Florida State? That's the key for Louisville this weekend. In the gut right now, guys, I don't really have much thoughts on this game. I just think it's going to be... I honestly have no idea how this game is going to play out. And I don't have a lot of insight into the Louisville Cardinals. I haven't watched a ton of their football games. I've watched a lot more Florida State games, but I've only ever seen one game of Tate Rodemaker. He threw some nice throws. He's got obviously weapons on the outside in Keon Coleman and Johnny Wilson over there. He's got weapons on his team, no doubt about that. But can he put the ball in the right spot? I'm not sure I trust him to do that, so I'll probably just hand it to Trey Benson every play. I think that's a good strategy. You got to throw the ball. You got to throw the ball to beat a Division I opponent like the Louisville Cardinals. So I see a lot of people picking Louisville this week. And for some reason, we've talked a lot about the gut tonight. The gut is telling me, no, Ian, do not pick Louisville. Do not pick Louisville. Do not pick them to win. Do not pick them to cover. Pick Florida State. Something about what Mike Norvell's got going on down there. What he's got going on down there in Florida State, in Tallahassee. Something about it just screams Florida State is going to win this football game this weekend, and they're going to go to the college football playoff. So, based on the picks that I've told you guys tonight, I told you Washington was going to win. Bold prediction. I'm going out on a limb there, but that's what the gut's telling me. I told you Texas was going to win. I told you Georgia was going to win. I told you Michigan was going to win. And I told you Florida State was going to win. So as I say that I just now realized that all of the undefeated teams, I have winning this weekend. And the picks are going to have to change. They're not going to, because if there's one thing we've learned about this football season, guys, it is unlike any other football season we have seen. We haven't got the upsets. We're not getting all those upset weekends like we have. We're just getting a bunch of good football games. And I think the good football games we're going to get this weekend are going to produce those undefeated teams all winning. They're all going to win. This may be the worst thing I've ever said and that has ever come out of my mouth. But that's what's going to happen this weekend. So I think your top four in the college football playoff, what we have tonight sitting here, I think that's what it's going to be this weekend. I think after this weekend, the college football playoff committee, all they have to do is say, hey, we got Georgia 1, Michigan 2, Washington 3, and we got Florida State 4. That's the college football playoff. Georgia's going to another national championship because they're going to stomp Florida State into the ground. And then we got a good game in Michigan-Washington. That's what it's looking like right now based on the picks I just had. So that's the end of the picks. That's the end of the show for you guys. This is not the last preview show of the year. We've still got semifinal games. We've still got national championship games. We still got bowl games. We got a packed next month and a half, guys. It's gonna be awesome. So I thank you guys for tuning in. If you wouldn't mind, hop over on Spotify, grab your mom's phone, get over there. No, don't talk about the Spotify wrapped junk, okay? Get over there, search up the Ian Fritts Show, hit subscribe, like the podcast, rate it 5 stars, do all that. Get on the YouTube, do all of that as well. I appreciate it, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll have the recap maybe up in the middle of the night Saturday, so you can watch it before the college football playoff committee does their thing. I think that's what I'm gonna shoot for. So thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate it, and be on the lookout for that college football championship / playoff preview podcast that will be out before the CFP committee puts out their rankings on Sunday afternoon. So thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it. I'll see you in the next one. I love you. Bye.
Whoa, he has trouble with the snap, and the ball is free. It's picked up by Michigan State. Jalen Watts Jackson.
20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 45. There goes